So Christoph, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's talk about VAT or GST, depending on which part of the world you're in, or indeed sales tax for that matter. So these types of indirect taxes are proliferating worldwide. Governments are increasingly looking to this area for more revenue. Everybody needs more revenue. Some governments are enacting this tax for the first time. Others obviously are overhauling ones which they've had for a while. Just tell us a little about this global trend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thanks for the question, Will. Obviously, VAT, GST, they're consumption taxes. Mm-hmm. And so everything that we've seen happening over the past years, and that's not just for indirect taxes, but also direct taxes. Right. So we've seen those changing business models. We've seen, of course, digitization of the economy. They've changed the way in which taxes are collected and the effectiveness of the old tax systems. And so if we see a number of initiatives on the direct tax front, we see equal initiatives on the indirect tax front. Right. Because with those new models, consumption has obviously changed. The taxation of consumption has obviously changed. And so governments had to rethink how to go by. And so we've seen that governments have rethought how to tax cross-border e-commerce sales of goods, for example, especially obviously in the business-to-consumer space. Also, with the digital economy coming specifically for digital services, the platform economy, right. How to tax that. So that's required quite a significant number of changes to tax systems, indirect tax systems across the world. And obviously, and that's the earlier point, there is a sort of a hand in hand with direct taxes, but even a bit of a grayish area. Right. If you would look at digital services taxes and the likes, is it direct, is it indirect? But if anything, we can safely say a lot of change over the past years, but a lot of change still to come on that front. Now, so that is in terms of what we see in changes to the tax system itself. Right. Next to that, and that's specifically relevant also for indirect taxes, is the way in which governments collect. Just recently, the new study on the VAT gap was published, and we saw that the VAT gap has decreased, I think, in 21 from 60 billion euros. It is now coming from 99 or something. Okay. So you could say, well, significant improvement, well done. But of course, 60 billion is still a lot of money, and so there is still a lot of room for improvement. And so that is where, and it's just an example, of course, there's still work to do. And governments are looking at better collection, which in this, new economy, in this new world that we live in, means being faster on the ball. And that means, in practice, really going to e-invoicing, mandatory invoicing, real-time reporting sort of systems.
Right. That's great. So let's actually talk a little about this compliance aspect, because as you say, with all these new rules, and particularly, sort of getting more granular about the data, real-time collection, these are actually significant compliance challenges. And how are companies actually getting that sort of top quality data that they need in real time, and leveraging digital in a way to actually reduce risk?
That's an interesting question, because I refer to governments doing things, and if you would look at the pace in which they do these things, it's accelerating. And then obviously there's a point in time where you need to decide as a company, and we're about there, whether you look at things as they come, or whether you really look at things more structural. And with that, I mean is in the earlier years, let me call it like that, of real-time reporting, invoicing, and the like, multinational companies could allow themselves to deal country by country. And now we see that real shift towards, we need to think about how we're going to do this in a more centralized manner, in a more harmonized manner. What is the level of the tax function, the central tax function within the company? And so that means, as they start reviewing what they want to do, is of course taking stock also of what are the number of legacy systems vendors we have, what are the data sources we have, what do we capture, what can we do in terms of analytics, versus what do we think would, in view of what we see coming, be a potentially ideal end state.
Right.
And so that is the harmonization and better management of the different data sources that I refer to.
Yeah. So, tax teams are, we've already talked about this in a sense. Tax teams are really quite stretched. The regulatory changes, the legislative changes can come frequently and are actually quite difficult to embed into ERPs, into companies' collection systems. and the technology. So how do you see clients keeping pace? How can clients keep pace with this?
It goes a bit hand in hand with the previous question, of course, because technology is one of those elements to review. And so how to keep pace? Indeed, it's an increasing number of requirements coming towards a tax department. And so it means, well, reviewing how are we organized and what are we going to do. Right. Now, on the positive side of things, we could say it is a driver for change. Mm-hmm. It puts things also on the radar, and it gives, well, if anything, a platform or a momentum to a tax department, to an indirect tax department or team or function to review their function and to address that and to bring that to the company's agenda in terms of how do we want to go by with technology. We cannot afford to do nothing, or how are we going to fill in the process aspect? What are we going to do? Centralized, decentralized, in-house or not? So all of those things, it's really a driver for change and consideration, and gives a proper point in time to review one's strategy and to bring that to the broader corporate agenda. Right,
and also, I mean, to the point that you were making before about there are changes in the direct tax world, changes in the indirect tax world. Sometimes these two taxes can overlap, DSTs, for example. Actually making sure that there's a whole of tax department approach to this as well, I think is quite important. So let's just move on to one final point, the future. So, what's on the horizon? I mean, we know that authorities are focusing on indirect taxation to digital platforms. You're talking about the whole platform economy, marketplaces, the gig economy. So what should clients be on the lookout for in the next year or so?
What not?
What not?
There's so much coming. I mean, whether you look at the OECD just giving additional guidance to developing countries, whether it's the VAT in the digital age that is on the radar for the coming month.
VIDA.
VIDA, indeed. Yeah, sorry. The summary, well, VIDA, but VAT in the digital age, of course. There's the different digital services taxes we refer to. And then there's countries, and we have an interesting newsletter out of the Global Indirect Tax Network capturing all of that. But there's then a number of countries that already start reviewing their previous systems. So we could refer to Turkey, to India, New Zealand, what have you. So a lot to come, and we'll certainly not be bored.
Good. Well, Christoph, thank you very much for joining me. And as you say, a lot to come. So we'll look forward to getting you back. Thanks so much.